Hi again. So I'm here to go over the results of the pazopanib trial. I know many of you have heard about Avastin or bevacizumab. It's an anti-angiogenesis agent, meaning that it's a medicine that's meant to try and shrink or stop these blood vessels from growing. It's a group of medicines we've borrowed from the world of cancer, wherein in cancer they know cancer stimulates its own blood vessel growth, and that's what feeds these cancers from growing. And one of the things that cancer researchers have done is to try and starve the cancers. They shut off blood to flow to these cancers with these medicines that cause these blood vessels to just fall away or shrink down. And so we've borrowed that, just like Chris has said, an existing group of medicines. We've borrowed that into the world of HHT because we know this is a disease wherein you've got these blood vessels growing so fast and in a disorganized manner. Can we use this group, this class of drugs, in trying to reduce their size and trying to shrink them? So we have bevacizumab or Avastin, which is an antibody. So it's an antibody that's developed in a mouse, and it's modified to look like a human antibody, so that there's almost like 90% homology between this mouse antibody and the human antibody, and that's given. And some of you may have even received Avastin either intravenously or as a spray or even as an injection into the nose. And there is data that this medicine does work. And along those lines, we've seen some patients who've received bevacizumab or Avastin, they either over time lose the effect of that medicine, or when they got it, they just didn't see the benefits that we're supposed to see. So as a consequence, the scientific group looked at what are the targets that this Avastin or bevacizumab binds to, and one of the receptors of Avastin, which is called VEGF receptor 2, is blocked by this molecule pazopanib. And it's, again, this pazopanib is a medicine that's been primarily studied in kidney cancers and certain sarcomas. That's where this medicine has been used primarily. But because of our desire to look at medicines for this disease, HHT, we decided to look at, can we use this pill? And it's a pill that you take once a day. And that was one of the most interesting parts of this medicine, is that you just take a pill once a day and you're done. And to look at this medicine, does it impact? And we primarily looked at patients with significant nosebleeds, mainly people who were dependent on iron and blood to keep up with the rate of loss that happens from their nosebleeds, as well as to look at how often does this medicine impact hemoglobin levels as well as the needs for replenishment. All right, so it was a phase 2, so it's a very small trial. We just had 7 patients in it, and it was an open label trial, meaning there wasn't a placebo arm. Patients got drug, we knew, because what we looked at was, prior to them getting into the study, we looked at how much their hemoglobin was, how much blood, how much iron they needed, and then they got the medicine, what happened to their counts and what happened to their bleeding scores and rates. And the desire was to do this 12-week initial trial, followed by us looking at various doses, because this is something we're in uncharted territory over here. Because you got to remember, the doses that are used for cancer is 800 milligrams a day. But we said, let's look at much lower doses to see, are these doses going to have some sort of clinical efficacy? Because the concern was, at the 800 milligram dose from the cancer world, there was a lot of side effects with this medicine. And I think that's an important thing to remember. This medicine had a lot of side effects. So the desire was, can we use this medicine at lower doses to see if we're going to get benefit, but without the whole side effect problems that we face in managing patients. So the desire was for us to do 24 patients from this Part A eventually to a randomized trial. And then we enrolled 7 patients. We started off at the 50 milligram dose, and we didn't see any side effects. There was maybe one patient who had some mild elevations in their liver function test, but didn't shut their liver down. And the moment we stopped the medicine, the liver function test came back to normal. From the cancer studies at the 800 milligram dose, we know that approximately 30–40% of patients had significant abnormalities of their LFTs. So the fact that we just saw one of them was pretty good for us. However, as Chris was saying, this drug, we initially got it from GSK, but then what happened was Novartis, this other big drug company, decided to buy the angiogenesis group of drugs from GSK, and so this drug went away from GSK to Novartis. And that's when our problem started, is that we decided to go to Novartis to say, hey, Novartis, can you continue the study because we are seeing positive clinical benefits? However, just as Chris has said, they were like, well, what is the benefit for us? And so, unfortunately, they decided not to pursue the trial. However, it's not all over, because we decided to publish this data, and it's been accepted in the journal Angiogenesis. And here's what we see. So the green is all positive, and the yellow is we don't know yet. And what you see over here is that in patients who got the medicine, when we look at their epistaxis duration, the duration dropped significantly in them that got it. The epistaxis, the gushing episodes, the significant amount of episodes dropped. Their scores improved in 4 out of the 7. In 2 of them, it improved, but not significantly. And what we mean by that is we expect at least a 0.71. That's the minimal important difference that we call. For it to drop that much, it didn't drop as much, and in one person, it didn't change at all. However, when we looked at iron infusions, there was reduction in iron infusions. And with regards to hemoglobin, not many of, or blood transfusions, just one of them was getting blood transfusions prior to intake of pazopanib. And after that, she or the patient needed no blood at all. And we've seen that the hemoglobin levels in 4 of them actually improved on this drug, on this low dose. So it was clearly a positive signal that we got with this oral pill. Just this pill taken once a day at a relatively low dose seems to have effects on patients. Now, mind you, it's primarily a group of patients who had nosebleeds. We did not look at the effect of these medicines in people who have lung or brain AVMs. Many of these patients, at least more than half of them, also had GI bleeding. So those two tend to run along the same paths. And so we found, even though there were no scopes done, we found that the hemoglobin levels rose. And one patient in our group had liver AVMs, and we know from that patient that the heart failure that that patient was suffering from, with the swelling, the shortness of breath, that went away. The swelling of her legs, the breathing difficulties went away on this pill. So we're quite excited about this needless to say, a pill for HHT. But mind you, I mean, this is 7 patients. It's really, really small. However, even though Novartis has not been, wanting to pursue this, were not giving up on this medicine. And so as a consequence, there has been a desire and a strong move from all of our sides towards doing a bigger trial with this medicine. And so the next pazopanib trial is planned for. I know Dennis is speaking with the FDA and showing data on this, on what we've already established. And we plan to look at how is this medicine, once you take it, even at this low dose, one is what are the levels that enter into your blood, because we don't even know that. I mean, at these low levels, does it block enough to give us this clinical benefits? Then the desire is to take it to a randomized trial where patients will get drug versus placebo to look primarily for bleeding endpoints, so nosebleeds, GI bleeding. And because of the fact that we had such a robust result with the patient with heart failure from liver AVMs, giving it to her, and we know the story of bevacizumab or Avastin in liver AVMs and heart failure, we want to also use this to explore, to look at this particular medicine for patients with heart failure and liver AVMs in HHT. So the process is already underway. I know Dennis has met with the FDA seeking an IND for this. And then once that's done, then with Cure HHT, we're going to get the IRB protocols going, get centers to have a dedicated coordinator for these trials, and hopefully we want to start recruiting patients for this trial to look at pazopanib in HHT. And I mean, we at the clinic, we have experience with this medicine on a couple of patients who we've given it to in an open label manner, and we've been pleasantly surprised with how effective this medicine has been. But I know we've got to study this more to try and better decide what's the best dose, because I think that's something we struggle with, the dosing of this medicine, and what is the right indication, because I think we gotta look first at the bleeding, because this has helped primarily with the bleeding episodes. We don't know, even with Avastin or bevacizumab, if that drug does anything for AVMs, because we've collected data looking at patients who have pulmonary AVMs who've received Avastin for bleeding issues, and we've seen that their AVMs don't change at all. So I think we've got to be very clever in recruiting patients so that we prove that this medicine indeed is going to be a positive study, and we give it for the specific indication of significant bleeding in HHT. All right, I think with that I'll take some questions and